Trappings and Trinkets Knitting Podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole. I am sporting a nice fingering weight sweater this morning because it was in the 50s when I woke up. It has been like A+ sleeping weather in Illinois, central Illinois lately. It's the kind of weather where you can have the windows open and it gets cool in your room, but not freezing cold, and you can put the comforter on, and you're not too hot or too cold. So, very, very nice. That's been for a couple weeks now. It's been like that. So, I am enjoying that quite a lot. Everybody's doing their thing, so I've kind of been taking this opportunity to do a little organizing around the house. Is that what you do when your kids go back to school? I think it's like everybody's out of the house. All right, you're out of my space. Now, let me make my space nice again. So I started with the linen closet because I had gotten to the point where I was buying things that we already had, but I just didn't know we had them because they were buried underneath 17 sticks of deodorant and 100 bottles of shampoo. So got that all organized again and threw away the things that were 3 years expired. You know, I do this every year. I don't understand how I own things that are 3 years expired. And then this weekend I got the refrigerator cleaned out, so that one wasn't too bad. I think my husband just did that like 2 months ago, so we're not too bad on the fridge, but I need to do the pantry. And I don't know, about maybe like a year and a half ago, I did this huge purge of the house where I went through every room, every drawer, every cabinet, under every bed and couch. I took out everything. Like if it was something that we had not used for, 6 months or a year and I didn't see us using, I got rid of it. I probably took 20 boxes to Goodwill, and that has really cut down on the amount of time I have to spend kind of organizing and keeping track of stuff, keeping it in a place. So we still have 2 giant cabinets in the hallway that are full of games, and like that would be great if we played games a lot. But at this point, like the games that the kids want to play are trivia, which often they want to play like DIY trivia, where I'll go on a website, like if they want to play Harry Potter trivia, I'll go on a website and ask them questions, and they'll answer those, or they very rarely want to play like Trivial Pursuit, or they want to play cards. So there's hardly anything in those cabinets that they want to play, but my husband is kind of, let's call him a fan of board games. So I don't know, one day maybe he thinks he's gonna find people that want to play a lot of long, complicated board games. So, all right, enough about my husband. So marching band is back in full force. If you have followed me at all on social media, I'm sure you know that my kids have been in band for a long time. This year we've got a senior and a freshman, so yay, they're both in the same band. We don't have 2 competing schedules of activities. So for the last few years we've had a few Saturdays where the younger child has a parade early in the morning, and then the older child that same day will have a performance, probably not in town, probably somewhere else, late in the evening. So those made for some very long days. Now we are both doing the same band, so that's really nice. We have a year where we can enjoy both of them at the same performances. So our season always kicks off with our high school hosting a marching band invitational. And if you didn't grow up in a marching band, you might not know that that means that like the field shows that you might see at a halftime at a football game, the shows where they're playing music and doing choreography, bands will come and perform those shows, and it's a competition. So this year we had 28 bands total, which was a record. I think last year was the biggest, and we had like 23 or 24. So it keeps growing and growing, and it was crazy to have that many bands. But it was a great day, and it's a lot of fun to see the performances. I was a little bit surprised this year because so our kids' band shows, well, my son, because he's been in the high school band for 4 years now, so they did a Lion King show. The next year was a Phantom of the Opera show. Then it was Mary Poppins, and this year it's this show they're calling Classically Twisted, and it's kind of If you watch Glee, you'll understand the language of mashups. It's a mashup of classical music put together with like hard rock songs like Led Zeppelin and Ozzy Osbourne, I think, is in there. So it's very different types of music played at the same time or right after one another. So I was kind of like, oh, well, that'll be good. But like I wasn't really expecting it to be on the same level as the more familiar music from the shows. And I kind of thought, well, those other shows are more theatrical. They can do more with the costumes and it'll be familiar to the audience, which is always fun. But I mean, now that I've seen the first two of the 3 movements that they are going to have, I was really impressed. So I'm excited to see how they do again for this year's band season. So anyway, that's what's going on in my life. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you're up to in the fall. The other thing I'm looking forward to here in the fall is that my local apple orchard just opened last Wednesday. So I've been wanting to get out there. I haven't done it yet, but I want some apples. And they have, they keep bees. So they also have these enormous, I think they're 5-pound jars. They're like huge jars of honey. They're like this big. $20 for 5 pounds of honey. I think like at the store, those little 8-ounce golden bears are what, like $6 or $8? So you do the math. It's a good deal. I only bought one last year because I don't know. I lost my mind and forgot that I eat honey. I think it was way gone by Christmas. I think we only took a couple months to decimate that thing. So I will definitely be getting multiple jars of honey because that'll keep, right? So I'm very excited to get out there. Hopefully this week, fingers crossed. The first thing that I was going to show you is a future project. I'm not very organized with my list. I forgot to put it in a coherent order here today. But this fabric, it doesn't look very fantastic on the screen. It's kind of like a little herringbone. I don't know if that's going to, yeah, it shows up a little bit. See the herringbone pattern there? And it's also super, super soft. So I saw this at Joann's. It was on sale. I want to say it was only like $6 or $8 a yard for the on sale price. And so I bought like 1.5 yards. And I want to make one of those blanket scarves. So I thought about making a dress with it, but then I was like, I'm probably not gonna wear a giant brown dress. So the idea with these blanket scarves is that you just basically, you cut a square and then you fold it into a triangle. Ooh, that's not very folded, but anyway, that's what you wear as a scarf. And you wanna fray the edges. Similar to this, but much more. So it's an easy project. I know I've seen it before. It's like a Pinterest project. I've seen it before online in quite a few places, and it doesn't look hard at all. So maybe next week I will model my blanket scarf for you. It's like, it's no sewing. Basically, you have to have scissors and a way to cut a straight edge. That's it. And then your fingers to unravel the edges. And I'm not sure, maybe, I can imagine that maybe some of the tutorials are going to tell me to sew along the edges to kind of stop the fraying, but you wouldn't have to. So anyway, that's one of my plans here coming up. Should we do some, let's see, I only have one finished object, and it's my baby present. It's so cute. It's so cute. There it is. It's my Tirletunge, and it is written as one of those little onesies that like has like a snap crotch and does not have legs, like it would just cut off right here. But I really wanted it to be a full body outfit. So if I had been planning, because I was kind of like, oh, I'll just start this project and then whatever, we'll just go with the flow. So if I would have planned ahead, what I would have done is have the neck opening to about maybe 2 buttons, maybe join it like right above the armpit here. And then this would have been joined, so there would not have been buttons there. So in that case, it would have still had the opening at the legs, because that is very handy for diaper changes. But in that case, it would slip, like you would open the legs up, slip the whole thing over baby's head, and then button up the shoulder. Because you got to have the shoulder buttons because babies and their giant alien heads, you know. And then you would bring it down, button up the legs. But it would avoid having, what, like 15 buttons here up the side. That was a lot of sewing buttons. I wasn't planning ahead. I didn't do that. I was just going with the flow. So I ended up with all these buttons. So I wouldn't do that again. I would not recommend it. But it was an adorable pattern. I think I made it about a 6-month size because my chest was about 19 and a half. And remember, with babies, most of them, it's not the chest that is the biggest part, it is their bellies. So 19 and a half inches around the belly, that's about a 6-month size, especially for this baby. I haven't gotten to see her in person yet, but the parents sent out baby announcements, and she was a very long and skinny baby, so I think that this will fit her fine. I think if anything, length, she'll outgrow the length before she outgrows the circumference. So I was very pleased with how that turned out. And I also wanted to recommend, and it's kind of late to do this because I heard that this yarn is now being discontinued. So that is a bummer. I mean, I guess there's a chance that maybe the company is just like renaming it and changing it somehow. So keep a lookout. The brand is HAYFIELD, and in its older iteration, it was called SIETSA DK, SIETSA Double Knitting. It is fantastic for baby clothes because you can wash it. Let's see, do they say you can dry it? No, they say dry it flat. Okay, so dry it flat. And I would always do that anyway. I think I already explained in the last podcast why I never throw my knitting in the dryer, even if it's super wash. Doesn't mean you wouldn't do that. It just means I don't do that for those reasons that I told you in the last podcast. But this, I mean, it went through the washer, no pills, it's not fuzzy, it held up really well. So I love this for baby clothes because, let's face it, new moms do not need to hand wash our woolies. So let's not send them gifts that are completely impractical and just take up extra time. I don't feel terrible giving them something that should be laid flat to dry because you can still throw it in the washer and then all you have to do, I mean, honestly, something like this, because it has holes in it, should be put in a garment bag anyway, like a lingerie bag. So when you take that lingerie bag out of the washer, it's kind of a signal to you like, oh, this is something fancy. I probably shouldn't throw this in the dryer. So the hint is already there. It's not a big deal to lay something out. But I'm not going to make a mom with a little baby hand wash something. So anyway, I'm going to send that to them with a couple of Little Bear books. If you're not familiar with Little Bear, this is a really sweet series, and it's been around forever. Let's see, it looks like it was in the mid-50s that it was first published. This is the original Little Bear book, and it's really sweet stories. These are like I can read level books, so when the little girl is 4 or 5 and her parents are trying to teach her some actual words, she'll be able to read, whoops, that's table content, she'll be able to read a lot of these pages, simple words, and parents can help out. But one of these stories is like Little Bear invites his friends over and they make a soup together. There's another story where Mama Bear is trying to get him to put on clothes, or no, he's trying to, he asks her to make him all sorts of clothes, like a hat and a coat and gloves to go outside and play in the snow, but then at the end he realizes that he's already wearing a fur coat, so he doesn't need any of those things. And then the third story is, oh, there's 4 stories in here. The third story is he puts a cardboard box on his head and imagines that he's on the moon. And then the last one is called Little Bear's Wish. And let's see, that one, he kind of goes on an adventure with castles and boats and meets a princess. So they're just really sweet books. If you've never heard of them, I highly recommend them for giving as a baby gift or getting for your own children. A+, I love these. All right, so that's it for the baby gift. Oh, speaking of little kids, I've fallen down this video hole lately. Have you ever watched on YouTube? There is a YouTube channel called Katie Ryan, which I think is the mother's name. Since her little girl was pretty, like, since she could talk, I'm gonna guess she was maybe close to 2 in the earliest videos. She has been posting these little Vine videos of her daughter, and they are hilarious. So if you need a laughter break, I'll put in my show notes on trappingsandtrinkets.com, I will link to like the funniest compilation video that I've seen. But this girl is hilarious, and I don't think that most of this is, I mean, maybe a little bit of it is staged, but I think most of it is from her. And her parents have, like, now she's maybe 7 or 8 or 9 years old, and her parents have said that she writes her own skits. So now things I think are more staged, but the stuff when she was little, it would have been pretty weird if that was staged. So anyway, they're very funny. So the little girl's name is Ava. The mom's channel is Katie Ryan, and they are very funny. So go check out this little girl. She is hilarious. Okay, let's talk about works in progress. Ooh. I have quite a basket of things. So this is the husband sweater that I made a crack about when I was talking about it last time. As I finished talking about it, I think I made a crack about the yarn, like, I hope it doesn't give me a rash. So there was a day last week where my daughter had a volleyball game in a town that was more than an hour away from our house. So I knit the whole way there. I knit the whole way home. So that was like 2.5 hours or so of knitting. I knit 2 of these 50-gram balls. So it was a lot of yarn. I will put that out there. But I woke up the next morning, and on my finger, and this is where the yarn goes over my finger to hold the tension. So this is the one spot on my finger where the yarn is constantly touching. I had all these little blisters, and they popped open, and then my skin just like fell off. So you see that? So I have like this yarn wound from this yarn. I don't know why I react that way. It's the alpaca. I'm 100% sure that it's the alpaca. And do other people react this way? I'm so, like, I thought maybe my hand would get like red or itchy. I didn't think my skin would just fall off. So I'm not trying to say that there's anything wrong with this yarn. I think that the problem is that there's alpaca in it, and my body apparently really dislikes alpaca. So yeah, it's 65% wool, 35% alpaca. It's not a super scratchy yarn. It definitely, you know how alpaca fools you? And in the ball, it's like, oh, look at this soft alpaca. And then you touch it and your skin falls off. So I don't know what the deal is, but I'm healing. And while I'm healing, I'm wearing a Band-Aid on that finger to keep the yarn off of that wound. You know what I need is, like, have you seen those little plastic, like, finger condoms? That's what I need to, like, put all on my finger. So, anywho, let's talk about, all right, I've knit a lot on this sweater. I think I didn't have it started, or maybe I had just started it in the last podcast, but I've got both the fronts done. So I've got one front, and I've got another front. All right, it's not quite my size. But anyway, nice cable, right? I like it. I like the look of it. My husband likes it, so everybody's happy here. I'll just be happier when my finger grows back. So it's going to have a button band here. I think it's ribbed. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do just regular buttonholes that you would just fasten normally, or I'm kind of thinking it might look good with the type of buttons where the buttons would be farther over on, like, let's pretend this is the button band and this is the button band. We would put the buttons way to the side, and then this side would have like a loop that would hold that button in place. So like a a loop that you would sew onto this side. So I haven't decided yet, but I will have to decide that before I work those button bands. Right now it has a V-neck, and this will be a shawl collar. And I have a super boring back finished, which is kind of lame to even pull out because it's just stockinette. There it is, upside down. Whoops, where are you? Oh, no, that's not upside down. That's right side up. It's just big. So, super boring, but anyway, that's the back. And then a sleeve is halfway done. So far, I really like the pattern. I really like this yarn. Makes the cables pop out really nicely. I'm happy with that. I really am happy with every aspect of this sweater. I really hope that it's not too hot and that it's not too itchy for my husband. So those are the sort of things that I'm not going to be able to find out until it's totally done. So cross your fingers for us. What else? Oh, I started so I went to my yarn shop last week because I like to loiter there sometimes and just sit and knit and talk to the owner. And she, the yarn shop's about 25 minutes from my house. And when I was about 23 minutes from my house, I realized, oh, I brought my knitting bag with my husband's sweater in it, and I totally forgot to stick a new ball of yarn in it. And I had remembered that the night before I had finished a ball of yarn before I went to bed. So I knew that I was showing up at the yarn store to knit and I had nothing to knit. So I took that as a signal from the universe that it wanted me to buy this set of yarn that I've been looking at longingly for many weeks. A couple weeks, not many weeks, I guess. But it's the, let's see, I think I kept the tag. It's the Love is Love set from Dream and Color. The yarn base is COSETTE, which is their DK, and it's basically a rainbow from pink all the way through the rainbow to a darker purple, which I'll show you those in a minute because those are already knit up. Let's see, we'll put them in order here. So there's the top part of the rainbow. This set has 675 yards in it. And I thought that would be just about the right amount for a sweater for me, for the body of a sweater for me. Let's see, I'll show you the back because you get a little bit more of that dark purple. So there's the bottom of the rainbow. And this, the pattern that I'm working on is called Cala, and it's a raglan sweater that has the bottom part is one color, and then the upper part of the chest and the sleeves are a different color. So I've got some dark gray on order that's going to go pretty well with this. And I think I'm just going to, with the rainbow stuff, I'm just going to be knitting from the bottom up, and then wherever I run out of yarn, that's where the color change is going to happen. Now I'm really hoping, well, I am going to control to some extent where the color change happens. It either needs to happen up above the bust so that this all is rainbow, or it needs to happen just below the bust. I hate those sweaters that cut your boobs in half, and it's like the top of your boob is one color and the bottom. That is a terrible place. Designers do not cut people's chests in half. So we're not going to do that. We're either going to go above or below, but it's going to be a partial rainbow sweater, and then sleeves and top of the chest will be the dark gray. So I'm excited about that, and this is knitting up really quick. I actually started it twice because the first time my gauge was way off. So I actually did a gauge swatch for this, and the reason was because I think I started on it when I was watching a show with my husband, and I was like, what do I want to knit? A rectangle, like something completely brainless. So I actually did a gauge swatch, but then the swatch totally lied to me, which swatches do. I told you in that the last podcast when I talked about swatches, I had a warning there that swatches are still dirty, dirty liars, and sometimes, despite everything you do, you're still going to have the wrong gauge. So that's what happened. I cast on, I made like a 9-inch swatch. It was a good size. And then I cast on, the hem of this thing is like 53 inches, I think. So sometimes when your project is very large, the gauge is different than when you knit something that's relatively small. So when I cast on those 53 inches and knit maybe 20 rows or so, I measured again and my hem was like 73 inches. So it was way off. Like it wasn't even close. So we started over again. This time it looks like I'm really close. And at this point, we're just going to fudge. We're just going to do some extra decreases. It'll be fine. But I'm excited about this, and it's knitting up really nicely and really quickly. My third in progress, you've seen this before, not for a while, because I was waiting for my other part of my Cricut skein to show up. It has not shown up, and it is fall. So it is time to get this thing going again. This is my brioche cowl. And so this blue, I ran out of the blue, and I know it's hiding somewhere in my house, but I don't know where. So I'm going to have to crack into this full skein, which makes me kind of sad because I really don't have much left to go. Maybe another 10 rows or so. But whatever. It's just yarn, right? I'll find the other ball and then I'll have a full skein again. So it'll be fine. But I'm excited to get started on this one again because that is really close to being finished. So I could have this one finished next week. I could have my husband's, not next week, 2 weeks from now. I probably will have my husband's sweater finished then as well. So I am really trucking on these projects. So, my lactose intolerant friends, I wonder if anyone has found this podcast specifically because they're lactose intolerant. Because I do try to share recipes when I find them. That is the most difficult thing about being lactose intolerant is that I have a sweet tooth. And there are a lot of sweet recipes that have butter or milk or whipping cream or ice cream, like all of these things, milk chocolate, all the things that I can't have. So the list of things I can't have really is not that long. It just happens that those are the things that I like the most. So it is always a triumph when I find something that I can eat and that tastes good. So I found this recipe, and it was a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and it only made, well, it says it only makes 2 cookies. It's more like 3.5 or 4 cookies. But I thought, well, this will be a good recipe to experiment with because my real trouble with chocolate chip cookie recipes is the fat. Butter is kind of a no-no here. If I eat too much butter, that is definitely not a good thing. So I've been using coconut oil as a substitute a lot. I do have recipes that just use canola oil for chocolate chip cookies, and that recipe is pretty good. My kids don't love it, but I think it's pretty good. It also has oatmeal in it, which gives it, some fiber, and that's good. But I really wanted a traditional tasting chocolate chip cookie recipe that didn't have the oatmeal, and I thought this would be a good one to experiment with. For those 4 cookies, and these are good-sized cookies, like these aren't tiny. For those 4 cookies, it called for 2 tablespoons of fat. So what I did was I used 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, and it was kind of a scant tablespoon because that is a little more liquid than butter, so it's not a total 1-to-1 substitute. You want to go a little bit easy on the coconut oil. And then I used 1 tablespoon of butter. And the reason I did that was because mathematically, if you divide up that 1 tablespoon of butter that I used, and that goes to make 4 cookies, that means there's less than a teaspoon of butter in each cookie, and that I can handle. So I'm pretty severely lactose intolerant, but there might be people even worse off than me that could not handle that, but a lot of people could. So if you are in that group, then this recipe might work really well for you. So it was 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, 1 tablespoon of butter, and then it was basically every other normal chocolate chip cookie recipe ingredient: flour, baking soda, salt, brown sugar, white sugar. The egg, I only used the yolk and threw away the white because it's such a small recipe, they can't really, that's how they did the egg. So it's just the egg yolk, and then there's little vanilla and the chocolate chips. You could also put nuts in there or M&Ms or whatever. So I'll put a link to the recipe in my show notes on trappingsandtrinkets.com. But they turned out really well, really well. This is probably my favorite lactose intolerant cookie recipe that I've made. And you can tell that they are like, you can see the butter in there, can't you? Because it has the right texture. That's the right texture, baby. So I was really happy. They're crisp and flaky, but they're also a little bit chewy. And I learned a trick from this recipe. It said that when you take your cookies out of the oven, to bang them, like take the cookie sheet and just bang it really hard on the counter, and it makes the cookies deflate, like the air comes out of them. And I think that helps give it like that chewy texture. So I'm going to be banging all my cookies on the counter. So I was excited about that. So this recipe got 3 thumbs up from both of my kids and me. It was really good. So check the show notes if you're interested in that, and I'll share that recipe. And the other nice thing is, oh, by the way, if you're not lactose intolerant, I am 100% sure this recipe would be really good just with butter too. So go ahead and make it that way if you can handle that. Okay, so anyway, the last thing that I have for you today, this is something that I have been wanting to do a giveaway for quite a while. This was something that I won as a prize a couple of years ago, and it was a very nice prize. It just wasn't something that was it just wasn't my jam. So I would much rather pass this on to someone who would really like it. If you are interested in a little Christmas themed giveaway, here we go. Here is a skein of fingering weight yarn, and oh, the little gold flecks are barely visible. Oh, there's one on my forehead. Ooh, there we go. But those gold flecks are really all through the skein of yarn. Can you see them? Oh, there's some over here on the side. Yeah, they're all over the yarn. It's 5% stellina and 20% nylon, 75% merino, 438 yards for 100 gram, and it's BCY, Berry Color Yarnings, is the dyer. So it's very Christmassy, green, a few different color shades of green, red, white, and there's a little silver in there too. So this is self-striping sock yarn. So if you are the winner, you would get this skein of sock yarn and a coordinating Christmassy project bag, and it's a little drawstring bag with stripy Christmas lining, and see, it opens up, has a nice gusset. So this is a really nice set. The name of this colorway is Holly Holiday. If you are interested in this giveaway, there are a couple different ways to enter. And so when I draw a name, I'm going to compile the couple different lists. So I'm going to have YouTube comments, I'm going to have reviews, and I'm going to have Ravelry. Let's say by October 5th, if you have left a comment on this video, and you can say whatever you like, say something nice. Don't tell me you hate my hair. Don't tell me my kitchen is messy. Just say something. You can say something neutral. You can say something like, hi, my name is Janet. I love to knit. Whatever. If you leave a comment on this podcast before October 5th, 2017, then you will be one of the first few names on this list that I'm going to draw from. If you leave an iTunes review between now and October 5th, that will be the middle group of people that I draw from. And then the bottom of that list is going to be anyone who enters on the giveaway thread in the Trappings and Trinkets Ravelry group. So that's how it's all going to shake out. If you're the first comment on YouTube, you'll be the first person on the list. If you're the first iTunes review that has been left new, then you'll be at the top of the middle of the list. The first Ravelry group person is going to be at the bottom of the end of the list. So that's how it works. So really, all you have to do is show up in any of those three places, say something that's not horrible and that's not spam. If you're trying to sell me something because you're a robot, I'm crossing you off. But if you're a real person and you leave a comment in any of those places, I will put your name on the list, and then in the podcast that will air, let's see, it will be somewhere around October 9th or 10th. That's the one where the winners are going to be announced. So make sure you check in on that podcast to see if you won the Christmas giveaway set. How do you like my mixer and my fruit? Ooh, I see my mugs. I should show you those. So every year for Christmas, my family does an optional handmade Christmas gift exchange. And for a number of years, it's pretty much just been the women. It's just my mom and my sister and I that have done this exchange. We always invite the men. We actually have very crafty men in our family too. But besides one year where my dad made everyone paper towel rolls, or paper towel holders out of wood, which were lovely, nobody else has wanted to do it. So it's just the ladies. And there was one year that my sister made me these. Aren't they cute? So it was a set of 4. I think another one said SSK, and then I think it was a K2 TOG, knit 2 together. But what she did was she just took like plain white mugs. She used tape to mark off the spaces that she wanted to stay white. And then she took these paint pens and just like put dots all over the place. And then she baked it, which I guess she said that when she was reading like the directions on how to do it, they said that the baking was going to make it dishwasher safe. I put one of the mugs in the dishwasher just to test it out because I didn't want to ruin all of them. And it was not dishwasher safe. So these are hand wash only mugs, which is why they're up on the shelves, because I'm not a hand wash. I'm not going to hand wash my dishes. I strongly believe in dishwashers, so these are decorative mugs now, but I love to have them up on my shelves, and they're very cute and colorful. So if you're ever looking for, this would be another great idea for a Christmas gift for a knitter, and they can't be too hard to make. It would be great if you could find a paint pen that actually would bake in a way that would make it dishwasher safe, but you know, they're cute for decorative, or maybe you have a friend who will wash her dishes by hand and isn't lazy like me. So anyway, those are cute. All right, I think we're out of things to talk about. So let me know what you think of the kitchen. I thought that this was kind of the brightest room in my house today, that for some reason the room that I usually record in was kind of shady. So let me know what you think of hanging out in the kitchen and enjoying my fruit and my vitamins. There's my vitamins right there. Hello, vitamins. The cat's food is right over here on the counter, so I'm surprised that you haven't had a cat jump up on the counter while I was here. We're kind of hillbilly people, but you see this end of the counter, that is not where we really put food. We have a very long kitchen counter, so the cats know that they can go over to where their food is and on the far end of the counter, but they cannot go over by the sink or the rest of the counter. So we're hillbillies, but we're not that hillbilly. All right, enough about my kitchen. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope you get lots of knitting done. Enjoy this beautiful weather while you can, and make sure to find a nice apple orchard near you. Get some cider, get some honey. That's it. See ya. Bye.